It's an oldie but a goodie.
Oh, he went live.
He went live without actually, we can't hear him.
No.
Hello and welcome to the Gooners podcast. We're just going to let Mike talk to himself until he figures out. Can you hear me okay, Ellen?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, crisp and clear. Loud and
Good.
clear, crisp and clear.
It has been a minute since we've podcast. I'm assuming the last pod came around the cancer 24-hour podathon.
Yeah, and while it's an amazing event in itself and brilliant for the fundraising side of things, I think what it does do is it makes us all really fucked off with podcasting.
Yeah.
We just sort of don't want to do it anymore.
Well, let's recount life since that, because a lot's happened, right? Mm-hmm. So I started my own company. You got married. Hers had at least 2 more children, right? Jared's kind of off working a ton. And then Mike is selling real estate, buying real estate. I think the last text when I sent him saying, "Do you want a podcast?" he wrote, "Who the fuck is this?" And that was it. That's the last I've heard from him.
I asked him, did he want to join tonight? And he says, "I don't associate with you people." Whatever that means now. He's selling off. I think he sold about 4 or 5 houses in the last 6 weeks. So the typhoon that is Mike Feinberg continues to run rampage.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But dude, how's married life? I know you already had children living, but how's married life? Any different?
No, not at all. No. Listen, it was brilliant day, and I had obviously but for anyone listening, I had Mike and his wife made it over. Tom Canton and his wife made it over. Jared and his wife made it over, and Pablo Mira, another one of the guys from the Gooner Talk, made it over as well. And it was a shit show. It was just everybody was. Put it like this: Mike wasn't the most messy drunk person in the room for the first time in his life. It was he fitted in quite well.
Question, because genuinely, all jokes aside, obviously you're in Northern Ireland. There's this whole history with English. Was Tom welcomed? I mean, is it just moved on? I mean, because we're of an age now where it really affected our generation, but not really. But how did that go? Did you have a lot of English people there, or was he the only one?
No, the Pablo and Tom were the only two English, and I think they were actually quite worried because when I was doing my speech, I mentioned the fact that they'd travelled over from England, and they were kind of waiting on booze to ring out through the wedding reception. But no, not at all. If anything, it's more like sort of jokey banter stuff, the way that we would go back and forth, but nobody takes it serious.
That's good. Hers, we really cannot hear you. Try us. Still don't have you, buddy.
Nah, can't lip read, bro. Maybe try like an old set of headphones or some shit.
Yeah. Sorry, no, we are not. Owen and I have been known to fuck with people on the pod, but this is not one of those moments.
No, it's not.
Oh, man.
Did you not test your...
Okay, does this work?
Yes, it
does.
Yes,
we got you now.
Okay.
I mean,
okay, hopefully the audio comes in well and there's no echo because I'm using the computer's microphone instead of this little thing right here.
No, you sound fine. You sounded fine the entire time. We've just been fucking with you.
I fucking hate you.
No, we're kidding. We're kidding. Which is insane to me, Mike, because you've got like 19 podcasts, so it's just weird that you don't know. While the rest of us haven't podcast for a minute, here you are having technical issues.
Here, the Napsters and the Gooners Potters. There you go. See, I'm known, believe it or not, by... You're never going to believe this, Andy, but ever since the last time we were on the podcast here, people actually know... I mean, there's like tens of people that know me, but there's tens of people that know me now, thanks to my other podcast. So,
hey,
we're pretty damn good.
If you got every one of your immediate family to subscribe, you would surpass Canton.
Yeah, it's just my children too, not even including cousins or anything. It's amazing.
Are you at the Magic Mike level where you need to hire security when you go out?
No, not quite yet there. No.
No.
I like to hire an entourage to make myself feel like I'm important, just surrounded by people. But no, nobody actually ever asked me for an autograph or anything yet, unfortunately.
Well, we haven't potted for a while, but we damn near chat almost every hour of every day in some form, I feel like, in our WhatsApp group. So it's good to see you guys' faces. Jared's off working the hurricane. Mike is picking up Jake from the airport, or just picked up Jake from the airport. And yeah, that's the team. So here we are. Mike, what's life been like for you since we last potted? You know, Owen got married.
Yeah, I don't have anything as eventful as Owen as far as getting married goes. I've been through a few weddings. That's been fun, but not a whole lot, man. I'm just trying to temper my expectations for this season since I was kind of saying I'm not enjoying it as much as I was enjoying the last two seasons. I think it kind of sucks coming into the season as title contenders, so to say, and just watching the season the way it's played out, it's kind of sucked, man. So I haven't been enjoying football as much as I have in the last two seasons, and for somebody that sits down and talks about it at least once a week, it kind of sucks, man. It generally kind of like sucks the mood out of like wanting to do it sometimes, but it's what it is, dude. Other than that, man, just creating babies and working, as you know, as a standard quo over here. So.
I mean, if you look at like the fixture results that we've had, right? I mean, aside from the Bournemouth match, which was just like ugly football, right? And that ended up being an okay weekend because everyone else except for Liverpool dropped points. But aside from that, I don't know, like there hasn't been matches or where I've been like, man, this just isn't good football, because that puts us in second, still 6 points behind Liverpool. But the other results, like City away, we were unlucky, right? Liverpool, we were the better team, unlucky again, right? And yeah, so I'm looking at the season and I'm like, yeah, we've been a little bit down, but clearly not having Odegaard was huge. Like him out of the starting 11, it felt like three of the four wheels fell off.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to analyze. I keep on telling myself it's 38 games a season, and I'll tell you this: if Arsenal were in Liverpool's position, I wouldn't be saying we were champions right now. I would be saying we could still fuck this up. So it's funny that when we're trailing, you're like, oh, "Fuck, it's over," right? But admittedly, to your point, right, we've had one of the most difficult starts. We played almost every single top six team. Even in Champions League, we played like Inter, which is Italian champions. Atalanta, who is like European champions at some level. I think it's the Conference League. We've had a horrible run of fixtures, and if you look at Liverpool, they had a bunch of easier fixtures. And on top of all that, the two Trossard red cards, two different games, the Odegaard injury, Rice injury, all of this culminating, it just makes it feel horrible. But then you kind of, if you sit back and look at the calendar, you're like, okay, I guess it's not that bad. It's 12 games in. It's nine. It's nine. That's 9 points. It looks like a lot, but again, we're going to see how like the Manchester City Liverpool result plays out. Granted, cities are in horrible form, but I will say the Chelsea game and this game played Nottingham Forest, and you could argue it's just Nottingham Forest, but they're in form and they had only conceded. They're like the second best defense in the league, if I'm not mistaken. The fact that Arteta, as a madman that he is, just went in there and rotated like 5 key pieces, and we played to the level that we played, and you just see like, oh, Odegaard's back, and you have like that sense of almost like relief. You're like, holy shit, he's back, and all of a sudden we remember how to score goals again. And so it's kind of one of, I guess it's akin to like if City lost Haaland or Liverpool lost Salah, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that he's back, it honestly, just watching us play versus Chelsea, I know that we didn't win. Watching us play versus Nottingham Forest, all of a sudden, just by the manner in which we played, my son is getting into this too. Just
Shut that goddamn kid up.
Yeah.
No, Pedro, stop.
I see his little hand under the table. Just to the fact that I've seen us perform so much better with Odegaard. I'll go on mute right now. It's very, very positive. All right, have at it.
So, Owen, let me ask you, do you echo the same sentiment? So if we look at the Liverpool fixtures, right, they played Ipswich, Brentford, United was United at the time, Forest, right, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace. Chelsea, I thought they got extremely lucky. I thought they were the better team, but they got lucky. Then they played us again. They got lucky. Then they played Brighton, who Brighton should have been 3-0 up at half. And then, okay, they beat Villa. That was a good result. And then they just barely squeaked by Southampton. So if I'm a Liverpool supporter, hand on heart, I'm not thinking this is a runaway title because they really haven't played anyone to date except for us, right?
No, and I think in our case, it's sort of sod's law. At this stage, is anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and that's definitely been the case for us. You know, with, as you guys have mentioned, the red cards, well, second yellows, if you want to be technically right on it, that haven't been replicated throughout the rest of the season for anybody else. We've been harshly treated. You know, we heard that prior to the season starting, there was complaints from other clubs to the PGMOL about Arsenal and their antics, and it seems like they tried to, go out and put the heavy foot down pretty early on how they were going to deal with Arsenal this season, and we've really felt the brunt of that. But yeah, listen, you mentioned there as well about missing Haaland for City or missing Salah for Liverpool. I was actually talking to a couple of guys the other night after football, and I was saying that this may be an overreaction or something. And I'm not saying he's the best player on the planet, but I think that there's not a player in your top 5 leagues that if you take him out of the starting 11 will have a bigger impact on their team than Martin Odegaard missing for Arsenal. I think he's that good. He's phenomenal. And again, I don't want to say he's the best, but definitely he is not the best player I've ever seen. But in terms of watching him, he's the most beautiful, pure footballer I've ever watched. Just the way he plays the game, the way he moves his body, it's amazing. But as I say, sod's law, anything has gone wrong will go wrong. And it's been the opposite for Liverpool. Everything's just going perfect for them. You know, the fixture list, as you rattle through there isn't very many fixtures you would point to as tricky fixtures. They've been very fortunate with injuries, with players that have had sort of injuries in the past. You know, you look at Kanate and Van Dijk. They've got Alisson missing, obviously, but Kevin Kelleher is obviously a very good deputy to him. But the thing I keep punching home to everybody is it's November. We're coming into December now. You know, if somebody had told you 5, 6, 7 weeks ago that Man City would lose 5 on the bounce, you would laugh. So if Man City are capable of dropping that many points, potentially 6 losses in a row after they play Liverpool, you would laugh them out of the park. Now, can Liverpool drop that many points? Absolutely, 100%. And that's the one thing. Whilst I'm going to say, I'm not one of these people that are going to sit here and trash Liverpool saying that they don't deserve to be where they are, because they do. When you put that kind of form together, that run of games in succession where you're picking up that many points, you have to be applauded for it. But what I want to see is, what's this team like? And more importantly, what is this manager like in Arne Slot when the going gets tough, when he deals with 1 loss or 2 losses in a row? How does he get that team back up?
Well, and look at the fixtures coming up, right? Real Madrid, City, Newcastle. Then they have the derby with Everton, which plays out just like our North London derby. They have a Champions League match, and then they got Liverpool or Fulham, Southampton, Tottenham, Leicester, West Ham, United, and then Forest. I mean, so their December is pretty tricky. Speaking of Forest, let's jump into that review, because we also play tomorrow against Sporting. So I want to get a little bit of a little bit. And I know, Mikey, you got a hard stop. It's interesting because I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Mike. Is like I'm not as excited to watch football, but I was really excited to watch this, because when you look at the table, Forest very much deserve to be where they're at. They've been playing really good football all season. They're tactically breaking down teams. They're counterattacking, and I thought, okay, they're not going to finish in the top. They're not going to finish in European spots, I don't think. But I do think that they're going to finish just outside, and they're probably going to push for the last couple. So I was excited to kind of see us, but I thought to myself, if we don't walk away with an extremely convincing and dominative performance, I was going to think, okay, we're kind of in. And within the first 2 minutes, you could just tell we were up for it. And I think one of the best things, Mike, for us as an Arsenal fan base was to see Saka take a 2-week break just to relax and rest. And to see Declan, I know he's still got a little bit of niggling injury, but we got Odegaard back. Saka got some rest. Declan's still going to come back. I think when it matters, he'll be back. It's just fantastic to kind of see us dominate a match against a team that's been playing teams really well this season.
Sorry, I was muted there. I'm caught between two minds. Yeah, it's absolutely is. I will say that I got myself into a little bit of heat on the YouTube comments. I'd hardly ever comment on YouTube, but I saw a little clip in which some fucko from the media was questioning, like, English fans want to know, based on Saka's performance, how could he have played that well if he was injured and didn't make it to England? And, they were kind of questioning him after the Harry Kane comments. And I was kind of like thinking, like, you fucko, like, I'm like, you're not going to question the other 6-7 players that were out, and it's really frustrating. But not only that, Saka was able to get some time off. Declan, Rice, we know that he played injured. He had the broken toe. Odegaard still coming back from injury, and as Arteta said, just coming back from having 3-4 months off and playing the 90 minutes. And to Owen's point, that he's not only a luxury player, but he's a hard fucking worker. He's always leading the press, and doing that for near a full 90 minutes, coming back from 3-4 months off, that isn't easy. So the fact that they all had a 2-week break, it was really nice. And to top things off, Arteta, the madman that he is, he was able to also give Kai Havertz a rest, Martinelli a rest, these players that went on to international break. So I guess this is slightly kind of our Dubai moment of the season. We couldn't make it out there for the rays of sunshine, but it is ridiculously encouraging. And that's the whole thing, right? We're supporters. You gotta have to hold on to the little glimpses of hope that you can. And it's been a really long time since all of our players, because they're doing so much international football now, has had a full 2 weeks of rest. So encouraging, to say the least. So it's crazy. I know that we started off the week 9 points behind Liverpool, and we're still 9 points behind Liverpool. But after the performance, the rest that key players got, and all the rotation that we did, I'm substantially more optimistic about the season than I was 3 weeks ago, which is weird because we're still 9 points behind. I can't really quite describe it, but it's those intangibles, man, that you kind of just have to grab on and hold on to.
Yeah. Oh, and when you looked at this fixture, did you think tricky, or it's in the bag?
Yeah, well, it was sort of a lose-lose in my opinion, this fixture, because if you beat Nottingham Forest as we did quite dominantly, it's excuse me, don't die on camera. Come on, it's first time on in like 6 months.
I call that Feinberging.
Yeah. Don't compare me health-wise or medically to Mike Feinberg. That's an insult in itself.
You know what though? Dude's looking pretty trim though. Like,
he is. I'm becoming the fat one of the group now. This isn't. It's not going well. But yeah, it's a lose-lose in the fact that if you beat them like we did, people say it's Forest, you should be picking up a result against them. But if you lose, you still get rattled the way people tend to do when Arsenal drop points against teams like that. They're definitely very good. They deserve to be where they are, as you mentioned. I was actually quite impressed with some of their athleticism at times. I just think the big difference, what was the big difference, I suppose you could ask, between the start of the season and this? And mine was willingness to move off the ball. It seemed to me like we were playing a game of almost like snooker, where everything had to be happening at one individual moment at a time through the build-up. Whereas I think that's a big difference that Martin Odegaard brings, as well as the leadership on the pitch to demand more from the players. And it's amazing how they respect him, because he wasn't even really my first choice for captain when we were seeking a new captain back then, but he definitely demands so much from them. But you look at maybe, like, if you want someone to personify the poor start to the season, I think the poster boy for that would be Leandro Trossard. Like, what we've come to expect from him and his performances have just been the polar opposite. But when it came to this match, his willingness to move off the ball, to drop deep, to make space for people, it was amazing. And I think right before this match started as well, something I threw into the group chat was this is a massive game for Gabriel Jesus. And I know that a lot of people will turn around and say, oh, but he didn't score, he didn't assist, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. But that's not his game. Oh, shut up, Mike. That's not his game. See that fluidity at the front? That doesn't happen without Gabriel Jesus. And I'm not saying that Kai Havertz can't do that, but you have to give credit where it's due. And I think overall, from front to back, from the first minute to the 90th, barring a 5-minute period where we let them grow into the game, it was complete dominance.
Yeah. I think when you overload the right side like we do, right, Saka alone pulls 2 defenders. And then when Odegaard drifts over there, now you're pulling another 2 midfielders. And it does give Jesus the ability to run into channels and caught an absolute nightmare for whoever that last defender is that's not being pulled. And then you do have to worry about a really fun left side in Trossard, who hasn't been phenomenal this season, but in my opinion, he's been fine. And then Martinelli, who's gotten off slow, but I think will turn things around. So it's nice that we talk about, first, we're in the conversation, and second, all of these options of depth. That Jesus can do this, Kai can do that. They can't do, and it's awesome to have that ability.
But
I think the one thing that
can I just say as well, something that you just brought up into my mind there was that throughout the beginning of the campaign, I know we can look at those injuries and those unfortunate cards that we received that impacted games and stuff, but I think we do have to, as much as I admire him and I love the man, you have to put some responsibility on Mikel Arteta and his approach to some of those games. And I think that's something that we maybe stumbled upon in this game, is that we were lacking technical security throughout our team. And when we think that, everyone was looking at that right side of 8 position of Martin Odegaard. Can we play Nwaneri there? Can Trossard play there? Can Havertz play there? Whilst maybe the answer was staring us right in the face in different positions, I think someone like Alexander Zinchenko brings that technical security and ability to break the lines. But somebody that really impressed me in this match and was really unfortunate was Jorginho. I think that he has been really underutilized in these runs of fixtures, and I would like to understand maybe why. Was there an injury there? What was the concern about dropping him in there? Because for me, if it wasn't for that yellow card that he received and unfortunately had to go off at 45 minutes, I think Mikel Arteta is within his right to be slightly paranoid about having a midfielder run about on a yellow card, given what's happened this season. But I think he potentially could have went on to be, if not close to, a man of the match performance, because he was dominating that midfield.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I thought the goals that we scored were phenomenal. All the lead up in the play. Saka is just next level. I mean, the guy is just insane. But for me, every time Ethan comes on the pitch, I'm thinking, here we go. And I've not been as excited for an Arsenal player probably since Jack Wilshere, just because every time you touch the ball at a young age, you're like, something's happening, right? And we've got, Saka obviously coming through the youth ranks. We've had all of these players that you're like, yeah, they're good, they're exciting, but it's just like every time he gets the ball, head moves up, he's driving forward, and it's almost a shame that Odegaard is as good as he is, because that kind of holds Ethan's trajectory back a little bit. But then I think about that and I'm like, well, hold on a second. He could have played the last month and a half and he really didn't. So that's got to be Mikel holding him back and protecting him a little bit. Right, Mike?
I think protecting is the proper word. We've seen him do this in the past. I know Martinelli, Mikel's first season here, everybody was saying he hates young people. Mikel hates Brazilians. Mikel hates Martinelli. And then all of a sudden he has that really great breakout season with double digits assists and goals. I think it's something that Arteta speaks about a lot, saying he likes to say that he likes to put these players in positions to succeed. And I know he cut a lot of flack. It might have been Nwaneri last season versus PSV, where we were secured already to go into the last 16, and he still didn't get playtime. And they asked me after that, and he was like, well, it's away because he is an historical opponent. It was 2-2. So he only wants to exclusively put him in the best position as possible to garnish wins and draws, if you will. So he doesn't want to be put into the flames, so to say. Like Lewis Skelly has been thrown in there just purely out of necessity, right? We speak about, Owen mentioned Liverpool a little earlier on, right? It ended up being 2-2, but what can you do, right? We finished that game with, what's it, Kivier and Lewis Skelly at the left back, or the left side of our defense. So, I think he's being really selective. And if there's any indication that Nwaneri is fully on board with the plan of his, what's the development, is that there's reports that have been breaking down in the last 48 hours that he's getting ready to sign an extension. Now, if you're unhappy, you're not signing extensions. That's pretty simple. He clearly has enough quality to play. Similar to you guys, I think you would go insane trying to figure out what Mikel Arteta is thinking, because the Jorginho thing was weighing on my head, Owen, for the last couple of the month. I'm like, I don't understand. He signed a new extension. And like after that, he's like completely ghosted him. And we saw what he could bring to the table. Now, Nwaneri, I think he's going to continue to play cup games. I think he's going to continue to play these type of games, and when we're at home, most likely. But damn, Andy, as far as the eye test goes, as far as just being a supporter sitting down, I have to say, I mean, you said Wilshere. I'm going to say Fabregas vibes without the tail end of his career at the Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the maturity. It's Bukayo Saka when he was playing when he was 17, 18. It's just a maturity where I used to say this about Bukayo, where when he played, he's like, no, I belong here. I'm not like lucky that I'm here. I belong here. And that's kind of how Ethan Nwaneri plays.
See, I actually look at it a little different than that. I actually think if you look back towards the period of Unai Emery being there, and then that period of Freddie being in the interim, and then eventually Mikel taking over, I actually think Saka was slightly more of a slow burner. Sometimes players go into the starting 11 and physically they look like they're being bedded in slowly. Whereas when I look at Ethan, but whereas I look at Ethan Nwaneri, fuck, he looks ready. It doesn't look like he looks like more of like an instant hit that you could throw in there. And it's funny, Mikel Arteta has this habit. If you remember back to the period where everyone thought that he was going to be sacked coming into that Chelsea game, for weeks and weeks and weeks, people have been crying out for Emile Smith Rowe to get a chance, and it's almost as if he goes, fuck it. and when everyone's ready to throw the towel in, that's when he surrenders to what everybody wants. But listen, you can't argue up until this stage. He's been bang on with his timings. The only thing I would say is that you talk about him playing in the absence of Odegaard. I just wonder, there's been, obviously, everyone's heard the stories that Martin Odegaard has been sort of mentoring Nwaneri behind the scenes. I wonder if it's actually more of a, let's wait for Martin to be back so he can guide him through games, rather than throwing him in to try and fill the boots of him. Let Martin be there to hold his hand to get him through those initial big appearances.
I think the comparison to Saka, though, when Saka came into the squad and kind of broke in, it was a very broken squad, right? Like, we had a lot of holes. Now we have a lot of depth, where seeing him come in and play 15 to 20 minutes, we're all thinking like, well, why isn't he coming in like the other guys? It's like, well, because he doesn't need to. Tomorrow's match, for me, screams a perfect opportunity for him to, if not start, get at least 30 minutes, because Sporting, and most Portuguese and Spanish, they play very different style. They're going to be counter. He's going to have a lot of room to run around. So I could see him playing tomorrow. But I do think the protection, it's just because we don't need to rush him in, and he has 3 or 4 people that could play in front of him. I mean, you could argue Martinelli and Trossard could probably go into that position and be just as effective as him, because they have the years of football brain. but I have no doubt in the next 12 to 18 months, he is one of the first names on the sheet in rotation. It's it's so exciting. Mike, what were you gonna say?
Do you guys think within this season we'll ever get to a point where we see Ethan Nwaneri playing on the left and Odegaard on the right? I only bring this up. I don't want this to become a play him out of position type of conversation, but he did factually play there 2, if not 3 games in preseason. Now,
I think only if we're injured. Only
Injury?
if we're injured. Yeah.
That would be
I think those
last minute trying to get a winner in the Champions League final type of thing. I would assume.
But the flexibility that we have with our defenders now can allow for something like that, especially against maybe someone like an Ipswich or at home or whoever. When you've got, say, for example, Calafiori, Gabriel, Saliba, and Ben White at the back, it's basically 4 fucking centre halves playing. That maybe Calafiori just sort of reins in his marauding up the line a little bit, and that gives license for Nwaneri and Odegaard to attack more. It's definitely a possibility, especially I think with someone like a fully fit Declan Rice at 6, someone with that athleticism to cover the ground. Yeah, it's a possibility, and I actually think it's probably one of the more likely things that we see. Maybe not in the big games, but definitely in cup games, maybe some Champions League games, and definitely Premier League games at home against those lower half oppositions.
Yeah, and it's interesting because with his projection as well, like he has been thrown on a couple times in matches where we're not playing well to provide a spark offensively. But to be respectful of time, Mike, tomorrow it looks as though the entire squad traveled except for Rice and Havertz weren't really seen in many team photos I saw online, so I'm assuming they stayed home. But we're welcoming back everyone's favorite left back, and Kieran. He's available. Do we ever see him playing again for Arsenal?
I got a hot. We did like a hot take prediction on my other podcast, one of my other 5 podcasts, and I actually say Tierney plays at some extent in this season. So it'd be flipping amazing, to be completely honest. Whether he gets thrown in, I don't think he would start, because Mikel Arteta doesn't tend to hold players back for a really long period of absence and then throw them in unless they're Rice and Odegaard and you're playing Chelsea away. But if you told me he gets minutes, I wouldn't be completely shocked. Ben White is out, so Timber has to move to right back. Tomiyasu still out. Zinchenko fell off a cliff. He got busted for leaking club news, I guess, and tactics, and he hasn't played since. The man knows how to talk. I'll tell you that much. I'm not entirely sure, man, but Calafiori, he's coming back from an injury too. So maybe, Mika, in my opinion, Arteta got a little bit better as far as managing minutes goes this season.
And do you think Tierney can play that role that we've seen Zinchenko, that we see Calafiori play so well, and even Timber when he's on the left, where it's really kind of like a left wing back, central defensive mid who loves to attack and take shots. Watching Tierney play his Arsenal career, I don't see him he's more of that traditional left back, hold the line, defend the shit out. And at that, he's phenomenal. But can you see him morphing into that central defensive mid attacking left wing back?
See, I actually think there's sort of like a misrepresentation of what Kieran Tierney's skill set is. Because everybody says that. Everybody says that he's the old school left back that sits back and holds the line. Whereas that's the exact opposite of what he is. He's a very bomb forward down the line. He's actually quite, I don't want to say weak defensively, because when he makes that his sole job, that's his sole purpose, he's quite good at that. But his natural game leads him. Go back and look at some of the games. He was our furthest player forward in a lot of the games where he had that big season where everybody fell in love with Kieran Tierney. And I think he is a phenomenal left back. I love the man, but the truth is that our system has outgrown a player like Kieran Tierney. I have no doubt that he can go and have a brilliant career somewhere else. do I think he should play for Arsenal again? Again, I absolutely worship the man, but no, not a chance, because he's made of glass, and I think that
You hate
if
Scottish people.
I was to, I'm not going to do the hand thing because it's under the table, and I don't want to get caught for doing stuff while live on YouTube. But if I was to rub my crystal ball and predict Kieran Tierney's future, is that in January he gets sold back to Celtic for a minimal fee, just to facilitate something that he wants. Because in fairness, he's been a good professional and a good servant to the club throughout his time here. So,
yeah.
As far as whipping in crosses, I'll say this just to defend him. I'll go on record to say I'm currently not his biggest fan, and I agree with Owen that I think you need to be a little bit more versatile and technical than just bombing forward. But I will say that the whole bombing forward / whipping in crosses, if you think about it, Unai Emery-ish era and Mikel Arteta, that was kind of like, I remember somebody from the media asking him, like, is this the plan? Because, we whooped in like 20 crosses and it resulted to sweet fuck all. So again, just, it's, you could do this with virtually any player, but I think 2-3 years ago, we were a substantially different team than what we are now. So maybe, the weak link, if you want to, air quotes for audio listeners, the three that's going to tune back in to listen to this, there's different tactics, different things going on the pitch, and it's not exclusively that that's the only trick that he knows. He can potentially be a little bit more fluid. As Owen pointed out, he can, go up and potentially, do better things in the final third than just whipping across and hope for the best.
And the strange thing is that if there was any team for that to work, you would think it would be now more so than ever, because we've got a team full of fucking 6-foot+ giants now. That could pay off. But the truth is that if your sole quality, if your sole asset, your sole benefit to the team is whipping in across, I trust people like Ricardo Calafiori, like Alexander Zinchenko, to be able to put in a half decent ball into the box if necessary. So I don't think it justifies maybe keeping him on.
Andy, while we're kind of talking about, old system versus new system, just here's a BX Gooner put in a question. Here's one for you. Is our system or the inability to switch a bigger issue? Like, a lot of people accuse Arteta of only having a plan A, A1, and A2, not so much a plan B and C. So do you think it's a weak point in our managing or our squad that we seem to be married to one, seemingly one way of playing?
No, because I don't think our system this season has really failed us epically unless we get a red card, right? Like, I feel like aside from the Bournemouth match, where I just felt like nothing fell our way. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but I don't feel like I've watched a game where I've thought, fuck, we were just terrible. The system didn't work. Like, every time we got a red card, we shove ourselves in the foot, right? You tell me that 11 men at City away is gonna concede a 95th minute. No, that's not happening. We would have completely dominated and controlled that game. And then, when you look at now, because hindsight, look at what we did to City. We were the catalyst that kind of broke them, right? We showed a lot of teams, like, here's how you fuck them. And they did it with 10 men, 10 fucking good men, right? But I don't think the system has really been troublesome where we've been like, oh, no, it's not very good. I just think we keep shooting ourselves in the foot, right? Inability to switch, like, why do we have to switch it? It's not that broken. But yeah, I mean, I guess we have to see what happens when we play Liverpool, City, and we go down 1 or 2-0, the changes we make then. Because that Bournemouth match, which keeps sticking out to me as being the one that really, really hurts us, is we conceded very late twice in the match. We didn't have enough time to adjust. It was kind of like at that point, match is gone. Oh, and I don't know what you think there, but
Yeah, it's see. You say there was a BX Schooner put up there that is the inverted fullback always the answer, and I think that when you talk about Arteta's system and Plan A and Plan 1A and Plan, it isn't the beauty of the system that we play now is the variation, and I would say that is the same with fullback. Is when you play with Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Martin Odegaard, or Marino, or whoever, it's the variation to change to a double pivot, to have two attacking eights. It's to have one of those mid or wing backs step into the midfield to overlap like Ben White does. It's the variation within that system. Don't be so glued to we're playing 4-2-3-1 or we're playing this shape, or because it's so fluid. If you look at, for example, sometimes when we pen in, it's almost like a 4-5-1 at times defensively. So we do have the ability to adapt and change to suit whatever the game state is. I think the big thing, as Andy is, we just have to go back to it. And sometimes, for all the technical analysis and systemic analysis that you can do in a game, football is a very simple sport. Some days we just have been a bit shit, and some days we've just had a bit of bad luck. I would say the good thing is that we're seeing now is that on our really shit days now, we're still able to compete, still able to stay in games, and still able to get results. I would say that it's been overall up until now probably substandard. But definitely, as we've mentioned before, the signs from Odegaard, Calafiori, those players being back, it's pretty positive looking after that. So,
Mike, what do you think?
Going back to the tactical thing, I kind of piggyback on what you said. For the most part, it's worked. We've had, I think there's this like stigma in which you can't say a really bad ref call influence something in football because it turns into you're making excuses. But I had a look at the Bournemouth stats, and yeah, they outshot us nearly double or more than double. It was 14 shots, 4 on target. We only had 6 and 1 on target. But I think we do this thing as supporters in which we're like, we just completely disregard that Saliba got a red card 30 minutes into that game. And we were visiting, and this is an English Premier League, game. That Bournemouth also beat City the week after, if I'm not mistaken, or shortly after. So we do this thing where like we hand wave when we lose like a really bad call, like the Trossard red card, the Saliba red card, the things or the crappy penalties, and we kind of hand wave it and say you're making excuses. But then if you see like another team go through it, you're like, they got fucked, right? It's kind of like we have injuries, fucking get over it, stop making excuses. City have injuries. Well, now's your chance, win the league. Well, which one is it? Does it impact or doesn't impact? So it's, whether you consider something a legitimate reason or an excuse, I think it's just up to vibes, really. But to answer the question, I'm kind of pro our A1, AB, A2 thing that I said earlier, because it's the one that led us to have 89 points last season. It's the one that the only thing you could probably ask yourself if we're a little Odegaard dependent. But to your point, he's Owen earlier in the podcast, he's a brilliant fucking footballer. And again, I'm sure I say that now because he hasn't been, but you watched Liverpool go 2 months without Salah. We're going to say, hey, surprise, surprise. So, Liverpool's a little, and that's what it is when you have an elite performer. But yeah, I think for the most part, the system was well, and better yet, I think like 99% of the squad can perform this one technical thing. So this whole conversation really kind of stemmed from Tierney, a player that pretty much every supporter in the club assumed was leaving anyways this summer. Like literally the only reason he's still currently in the squad is because he got injured right before the summer transfer window. So I think the whole transfers and everything that's been going down to 2 and 3 years, it's specifically tailor-made for this system. And we have players that we could finally just swap in and out and not have a massive impact on our squad in the way we play. So, we're dangerously close to having that in legitimately every single position. You can make the argument that Waneri's ready to do that with Odegaard. Some people could say he's younger, but I think for the most part, us three here on the pod currently, and most people in the live chat are pretty okay. If you told us, hey, Waneri might start tomorrow versus Odegaard, I think none of us would shit our pants, and I think that's a big vote of confidence. So, yeah, I think the plan A is a solid plan, considering that we've been breaking record amount of goals back-to-back seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Record amount of goals conceded back-to-back, or not conceded. How would you word that?
One of those things.
Yeah, our defense is getting better and better. There you go.
Well, I was just thinking there, Jesus, it's such a change from, I remember we were all sitting here talking about Kieran Tierney was the best player in Arsenal's squad, basically, and Sead Kolasinac was his backup.
Yeah.
We kind of do that occasionally as supporters.
It wasn't that long ago.
No, like I was just thinking now, and like literally, like we're having this conversation, and not once has a substitution been made in the last 2 seasons where I think, oh fuck. Like even Kirior, when he comes on, like he's prone to make some mistakes, but for the most part, he's stable and he does his thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the one player in the squad where I think, oh, but it's not like back in the day when you're like, oh, Kolasinac just come on, like, hold on, Skolasi's being sent in, you know what I mean? So, like, I think we're really lucky to be in that position. And I don't think we'll see much rotation tomorrow because we need 3 points, but I also think we're looking at this upcoming fixture list in December, and there's a really, really good opportunity for us to maximize points across the holiday period. I mean, there's no one in that run-in where I think, oh boy, like United's probably the only team in there, and they're still a clusterfuck, right? So, I look at it and I'm pretty excited. What are some score predictions for tomorrow? Oh, and where do you think the score is going to lie?
Yeah, it's a real tricky one because no matter what anybody says, about Amarim having left and the impact that's going to make, they still have got Victor Gyökeres, who's absolutely fucking tearing shit up at the minute.
Yeah, Saliba's going to fuck him up though.
That's the thing that I've got confidence in. I think that putting a run together is really important, so I think we will go full strength. I don't buy into the whole Havertz and Declan Rice weren't photographed thing. We all know that Arteta is a slippery bastard when it comes to shit like that. So I expect them to be there as well. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win.
Holy moly, bro. You're more confident than I am.
What's your prediction then, Mike?
I was going to say, first, you could just call Zinchenko and he'll let you know if they're on the bus or not. He's on my naughty list, by the way. Just by yeah. The other day in the Highbury squad, they were saying, who would you have dinner with? And it was, I think it was Harry Simeo that was with Sophie, and I said I would gladly have dinner with Zinchenko, give him a few beers, and he'll tell us all the ins and outs of the club. So he's on the naughty list right now for Christmas, so he's gonna miss out. I'm gonna go 2-2. How about that? I have confidence in our ability to score, but I do. Gyökeres is good for one, at least one, dude. He's just so amazing right now.
That's why I said 3-1.
Yeah, that we have, as my co-host Chris likes to say, there's something about European fixtures that we haven't quite. We've been able to change our reputation in the league in the last few years, where people expect us to win. But there's something in Europe that I don't know. I guess pedigree, despite us qualifying for Champions League for 20 plus years straight, there's something about Europe that just we trip over our own D's a lot, and I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but also just I like to temper my expectations. I would like to take this quick second to say I flippin' hate the new format. Like I don't know how to interpret how important this game is. I'm just kind of like I literally I couldn't tell you what place we're in. In
I'm
the
looking
table.
now. Hold.
Yeah,
eighth or ninth.
yeah. I don't know.
So
What is this NBA style shit that we got going? What is the
Yeah.
Super League?
I thought it
Women's.
was kind of like it because of the bigger games early, but you're right. It's just really disorientating.
Yeah, I have no
So
idea.
as it currently stands, we are in 12th, right?
Sack him.
We're in a
what's-
relegation battle.
No, because there's 36 teams.
We're a
So-
mid-table team. Oh.
One
is the
through
Super League.
1 through 8 qualifies for 16, and then 9 through 16 go into a seeded knockout versus 17 through 24, which is unseeded, and then 25 to 36 is eliminated. But when you look at the table, we're 5 points behind Liverpool in first. But honestly, there's only a 3-point difference between 16th and 2nd. Sporting are on 10. We're on 7. So, yeah,
Sounds very
a
Super
weird
Leaguey to
format,
me.
but it totally is a Super League. But I think the one thing I will
We went from
the one
top
thing
fighting for top 4 to top 8. Where are the fucking standards? Goddamn Cronkies. Cronkies out, dude.
but like look at the teams above us, right? We got Brest, we got Monaco, Dortmund, Villa, Atalanta, and then Juve. I mean, they're not that good of teams. I'm assuming we're not really going to be looking at this until what? We're about 7 matches played.
How many games are there in this group? I mean, by the way, I'm not being funny. I generally don't know.
No,
Do you
I
know-
was literally thinking like I didn't know what number to say because I didn't know either.
8,
Let's see here.
12? 12.
Help us out, live
12.
chat. How many games in this in the Super Group, in the Super League
I'm
group?
about to tell you. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So we play. Excuse me. What? I can't count. Play Sporting,
Gunnar works
Monaco,
doing the good work. 8 games each.
Zodbred.
8 games
And
each
then-
there, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got 4 more.
Yeah, so probably after another 2, then you can really look it up.
Sure.
Fuck.
This format sucks, dude. I don't care what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, we winning tomorrow? What's the word? What's your prediction?
I think we're gonna win 2-0. I'm confident that we're gonna be able to. I mean, let's look at like playing City and Liverpool. Like we're able to shut down very good players. I don't think Sporting have enough to come at us. I think if they do score a goal, it's going to be us breaking down, but I just don't see him getting through Saliba alone. And then Jorginho does not get enough credit for being a shit-stirring defensive mid, and I think he will do some stuff in the beginning, first 15 minutes of that game, where he's going to let him know, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Did I say 2-0?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna win.
I like it. I like it a lot. Optimistic.
So guys, we're at 53 minutes. Mikey, I know you got to leave. Owen, it's late for you. It's not for a lack of trying. The podcast, we have been trying to do it. Every once in a while, there is for a minute, everything seemed on track, and then the hurricanes hit. And Jared's like, "I'm out." Then Mike had 2 babies, and then
literally me.
Yeah, and then I know Feinberg commissioned a gold statue of himself, so that took him out for a while. So
I think at one point we were literally about to log on, and then my uncle decided to die. It's like you inconsiderate piece of shit.
That's right. I forgot about your uncle. Condolences.
I hope Feinberg's statue is better than Dwayne Wade's and Ronaldo's, because whoever's getting commission off of making these flipping statues that look nothing like the players.
You know that TV commercial over here where the guy gets the wax statue and then it melts? That's what I'm assuming Feinberg's looks like. It's just like a melty man with a yarmulke on its head.
Yeah,
Let's see if he
literally
actually listens to this.
I would like to tell Chad, as funny as this is, Vic's congratulating me and Saskia. Also, I didn't actually have more kids.
Not for lack of trying either.
I thought he looked trim. There you go. I'll take that all day long. Look at that.
I think he was talking about Owen.
Yeah,
Definitely not me. I'm just getting more round and rotund.
fair enough.
Hers, do you celebrate Thanksgiving? And if so, what are you doing on Thursday?
Mother-in-law's house. It's always between, like, I think they rotate every year between mother-in-law's house or sister-in-law's house, and I just have to show up with my appetite. So
How many people usually are at your?
Well, as to no surprise to you guys, I'm setting up for all the jokes. My wife comes from a very large family, and all her.
Is she Mexican too?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. I can't even, dude. I swear I can't look at that girl for more than like 30 seconds. I'm like, oh fuck, she's pregnant again. And as you would assume, her brothers and sisters also have a lot of children. So, dude, I shit you not, on a Christmas get together, it's a solid like 30 people. It's pretty cool actually. Christmas is probably the best, especially a few years ago when there was less teenagers and a lot more younger kids getting more happy about the presents situation.
Yeah. Now, here, jokes aside, your Thanksgiving dinner, is it the traditional American, or do you guys put a Mexican flair to it?
No, my wife's family is as whitewashed as whitewash could be. They're as traditional could be. So on Christmas we do sneak in some tamales. Same with New Year's. But as far as Thanksgiving goes, I'm fully expecting turkey, fully expecting ham. Jam. My sister-in-law does this delicious things with pecans and yams. I don't know what it's called, but my goodness, it's so good. Yeah. So traditional AF, as Feinberg would say.
Oh, and you've never had a Thanksgiving meal, right? I mean, it's kind of like a Christmas dinner.
I have. When I lived in
proxy with Mike
in Toronto when I was like 18 for 6 months or so, and it was there over Thanksgiving, and they'd done it there. I don't know why they do Thanksgiving.
Well, they have a different Thanksgiving than we do. I think their Thanksgiving was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's good. I just got fucked up at some turkey and got fucked up. It was good.
Nice. Yeah, I assume Feinberg's Thanksgiving is like rocks and
shouting. He just shouting you're welcome. You're welcome at his gardeners from his swimming pool.
yeah. Like I'm trying to think of like Jewish food, like bagels and.
The Jewish.
Love it. Quick survey here for live chat and you guys that are eating. I'm a ham guy versus turkey 24/7.
I'm not a massive turkey fan.
You have both.
And so I would go.
I would have both.
I would rather double up on the ham.
No, but see, you need that partial with the turkey or the ham, the stuffing, and then the turkey on top.
Now, here's the thing, Owen. They don't do stuffing like we know stuffing, right? There's the American stuffing, and then there's like Paxo. Yeah. So I bought a box of Paxo to bring over to my friends who's hosting everyone.
Good. You came prepared.
Yeah.
And their gravy shit too.
Like
the gravy is usually shit.
We made it in almost an hour before I can make this joke. What do you mean they, Andy?
Just anyone that's not white.
Fair enough. Thanks for clarifying.
I don't know into what that was a relation to.
That's just his general response.
I asked and I received a response.
Have you ever had traditional like British stuffing, Mike?
Sunday roast?
Yeah, no. It would be on a.
Let me tell you something. A few years ago, NBC started doing this thing where like you could nominate somebody to get like a traditional English like Thanksgiving or something, and I got a pie. Mike put me down, and I received like a pie.
That's right, pie. You did.
Yeah, and
I get like a steak and kidney pie or some shit.
So what? I warm up this pie and I take a bite and I'm like, why am I eating meat in my fucking pie right now? And I text Mike, I go, take the shit back. I don't want it. What is that? What you people do over there? Put meat?
What do you mean? What do you mean, you people?
You I dropped a hard you people on that one. Dude, I was it just threw me off so much. Like, no, meat doesn't belong in this pie. Pie is supposed to be sweet with like apples or something.
Well, yeah, that's also a pie. But Mike, you have to remember that Owen and I come from an empire, right? that basically created the Western civilization. So when we say to you that a pie has, and then the ingredients, you just go, yeah, that's right. Yes, it's like when I talk to Americans and they correct me on like certain spelling or like English words, and then I go, what language are you speak? And they're like, English. I'm like, then fuck off then.
I'll speak American.
Yeah, this is America.
Hey, if they answer American, I'm gonna high five and be like, touche. But they never do.
So, Owen, have you had like
tacos,
like tamales?
I worked in a Mexican restaurant when I was in Greece.
No shit. Okay.
But
the things we're learning about Owen.
It was
in Toronto, Mexican restaurant. There was
literally no Mexicans in the restaurant. It was all Australian and Irish guys.
It's kind of like akin to like if you go to like a an Asian shop, you have like a shitload of Mexicans cooking. It's like akin to that.
Yeah.
Like you go you're going to a Mexican place, like a bunch of Australians,
like quesadillas and all that shit.
So there's a TV show on Netflix. It used to be on Netflix, and it would be a bunch of Michelin star chefs who would cook off against each other, right? And they would be given like a place in the world. No. It was something different, and like. They would say, okay, today you're going to cook a British cuisine. And then they would give you a British traditional food. And it was mushy peas. And then these Michelin star chefs had to go in and create a meal around mushy peas, right? Well, they choose Latin America, and it's Mexico. And I think it was refried beans or it was something. And there was this Japanese sushi chef who had like 4 Michelin stars. And he looked at his partner and he goes, I've legitimately never eaten Mexican food. I don't know what to do. He's like, I'm lost. And my wife and I were like looking at each other like, how can you be a millionaire Michelin star chef and never had one of in my opinion, the greatest cuisine of
not
all
even
time.
Not even a burrito.
No, he's like, I've never had a taco. I'm like, that's the greatest food ever.
And he's there like, you've never had a crunch wrap?
You've never tried a chalupa?
It is like low key the best cuisine on the planet.
Dude, Taco Bell just opened a restaurant like 5 minutes away from my house.
Oh, yeah,
it's generous that you refer to it as a restaurant, but fair enough. that five star chalupa or whatever or the Bel Grande nachos or whatever they do.
Dude, you see me, you can only eat one cuisine that's not like British food. Mexican is hands down going to be my choice.
We better wrap up, or there's going to be a little Mexican dude standing going, "Papi, papi," at the side of a road somewhere. Doesn't your kidney picked up?
If you say to hers, you better wrap up, like we're going to be here all because he doesn't know how to wrap up. That's why he's got so many kids.
Point taken. Andy, by any chance, do you know which one of all these videos? I mean, I assume it's the last one uploaded.
I have no idea.
We're going to go with the last one uploaded. I have no idea if that's correct, but live chat, you have been absolutely awesome. Andy, Owen, let's try to do this again this year, preferably.
I don't count on it, but I'd like to.
Okay, fair enough. Live chat. Hey, jokes aside, to everybody in the live chat right now, shout out to you guys, man. Literally, the podcast hasn't been on for months and months, and you guys are here. So very nice, very awesome. For those of you that know me from Not Another Arsenal podcast, tomorrow night we will be doing that. There's the plug, Andy. I had to do that. All right. Want to say your goodbyes? We end it. I'm just kidding. I don't want to hear you guys. Bye.
Perez. Wilco makes a run ahead of them. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent.